coverage you can count on. KOMU 8 News starts now.
The True False Film Fest is wrapping up after a weekend full of music, art, and film. Good evening, everyone. I'm Avery Grosvenor. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. KOMU 8's Christian Riley Dutcher spent the afternoon at the festival in downtown Columbia. Now they're in the studio with us now. So, Christian, how was the finale?
Well, Avery, another True False Film Fest comes and goes, and this chapter is closed on another year of celebrating local and global artists. It was a special moment for one MU alum who got to return to campus for a screening of his film, Tilted Arc. Tilted Arc is only the second Method M film to be shown at True False. Later this month, the documentary will be screened at the American Documentary and Animation Film Festival in Palm Springs, California. For now in the studio, Christian Riley Dutcher, KOMU 8 News.
Okay, thanks, Christian. Well, tomorrow is the big day. Columbia Solid Waste utility workers will pick up and begin trash pickup using roll carts. Here are some things you should know before pickup. You have to place your cart with its wheels against the curb. Any trash placed next to your roll cart will not be collected, and the lid of your cart must be able to close completely for pickup. Hazardous materials, electronics, and ash placed inside your cart will not be picked up. Carts should be on the curb no later than 6:30 a.m. the day of collection. The Jefferson City Council could make a decision on the city's yard waste problem tomorrow night. The council will vote whether to reopen a temporary drop-off site. Right now, there's nowhere for people to throw out stuff like leaves and grass clippings. There is debate over who should pay for yard waste services. One option is for the city to pay for it, another is for the people to pay a fee. Mayor Ron Fitzwater says it will probably be something in between.
Either it's a streamlined service, which is what the council is proposing, or if they want us to go to a full service with one of the local vendors, then have some kind of fee-based service for people that want to utilize it.
The temporary drop-off site was used in the winter. Public Works is proposing to expand the site and add a new entrance. The council will vote on the issue tomorrow. Andrew.
While temperatures have started to drop here in central Missouri, look at these though, 68 degrees. We are still feeling like temperatures way above where some of the days might get to as far as high temperatures go going into next week. So these are very, very warm temperatures, and the winds have also started to calm down. We've only got winds coming out of the south at about 11 miles an hour. We also have a cold front that's just up to the northwest where Chillicothe is 55 degrees, but here in central Missouri, I mean, we're still looking at some low 70s across, 70 degrees in Eldon, 72 degrees in Jefferson City, while over towards Kansas City, they're only looking at 50 degrees now. We're also watching a chance of some rain and maybe even scattered thunderstorms as we dive into Monday afternoon, specifically Monday evening for those thunderstorms. I'll break those down here coming up.
Okay, thanks, Andrew. 2 people are injured after a shooting at a Kansas City high school. Police responded to a shots fired call at North Kansas City High School. Officials didn't immediately release the ages of the victims, but they did confirm one of them was a juvenile. That victim is at the hospital in serious but stable condition. One witness says the incident was chaotic.
The game was over, and we had a large crowd walking out, and I'm with my dad, and we hadn't exited the building just yet, and all we hear is bop, 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 bop. And I mean, it was crazy. It sounded just like 4th of July fireworks.
The second victim's condition is unknown. Investigators haven't made an arrest yet. They're still trying to figure out if any of the students were connected in the shooting. Turning now to your national headlines. Capitol Hill is on the verge of passing legislation to avoid a government shutdown. Lawmakers unveiled a finalized bipartisan package of 6 government funding bills to pass by the end of the week. The package includes bills funding 6 major areas such as military and veterans affairs, transportation, along with energy and water. Funding for these departments was set to expire last Friday, but lawmakers passed their 4th short-term funding bill to extend the deadline. Senator Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says both sides of the aisle should be excited for this package. Take a listen.
So again, good news. Of course, the clock is now ticking. We have to pass this bill by Friday, but the fact that the 4 leaders, House, Senate, Democrat, and Republican, have reached an agreement bodes well that the government will not run out of funds and shut down by Friday.
Lawmakers have until March 22nd to finalize and pass the remaining bills to fund the rest of the government. The Supreme Court could rule as soon as tomorrow on whether former President Donald Trump can be kept off ballots in some states. Justices indicated they will issue at least one opinion tomorrow, and many analysts are speculating the High Court will rule on the ballot question. States like Colorado and Illinois removed Trump from their ballots, citing the 14th Amendment's provision preventing those who, quote, engaged in an insurrection from running from office. Trump is appealing these decisions. Coming up, Vice President Kamala Harris commemorates history in Alabama, how she's using the platform to call for action in Congress. Plus, an expansion on previous recall.
And I mentioned that chance of some scattered showers and thunderstorms. Again, those thunderstorms looking to be around Monday nights going into early Tuesday morning. I'll talk about that here coming up.
Welcome back. Vice President Kamala Harris joined the 59th anniversary of Bloody Sunday took place in Alabama. Commemorators marched across the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, where police beat civil rights demonstrators marching in support of voting rights. Today's march is among dozens of events during the annual event. Harris honored the legacy of the civil rights movement, saying there's still more work to be done in the fight for freedom.
And today we know our fight for freedom is not over, because in this moment we are witnessing a full-on attack on hard-fought, hard-won freedoms, starting with the freedom that unlocks all others, the freedom to vote, the sacred freedom to vote.
Harris also took the opportunity to call for a, quote, immediate ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas war. She says she wants to see a 6-week ceasefire as negotiations talks are underway.
And given the immense scale of suffering in Gaza, there must be an immediate ceasefire.
The VP also calling for Congress to strengthen current voting rights policies. The U.S. Air Force Central Command completed its first airdrop of aid into Gaza. 3 military planes dropped 66 pallets of 38,000 meals across the Gaza coastline. President Joe Biden noted the humanitarian aid flowing into the region for Palestinians is insufficient. Aid organizations say airdrops fall far short of meeting the desperate needs for food and supplies in Gaza. Back here in the States, crowds took to the streets across the country calling for a ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas war. Baltimore, Albuquerque, Raleigh, and Charlotte, as well as the nation's capital, held several hands-off Rafah protests yesterday. This comes as the death toll in the war climbs to more than 30,000 people. Israel previously signaled its intention to attack Rafah, where an estimated 1.4 million people are sheltering. A political rival of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu arrived in Washington for talks with U.S. officials. An official from Netanyahu's party said the trip was planned without authorization from the Israeli leader. The visit comes as frictions rise between the U.S. and Netanyahu over how to alleviate the suffering of Palestinians in Gaza and what the post-war plan for the country could look like. Up next, Northern California is covered in snow. Take a first-hand look at the blizzard that's keeping millions indoors.
And while we're going to stay well above average as we go into tomorrow, we're going to start making our way back down to average, but then we're going to bounce back up like a trampoline going into next week. I'll talk about that here coming up.
Here's what's happening right now. The Associated Press projects presidential candidate Nikki Haley as the winner in Washington, D.C.'s Republican primary, marking her first victory in the 2024 campaign. President Joe Biden won the district in the 2020 general election with 92% of the vote. Despite early losses, Haley says she will remain in the race. A dangerous blizzard is blanketing Northern California. Around 6 million people across the region are under a winter storm warning, and thousands of people are without power as the storm shows no sign of letting up. Whiteout conditions are marking travel almost impossible. As you can see through this dash cam, you can barely see that road there in the upper elevations of the region, and several major highways are completely shut down. Andrew.
We all knew that it was going to be warm today, but it was kind of up in the air if we were going to break a record or not today, and that's exactly what we did. We ended up getting to 81 degrees according to the Columbia Regional Airports, which the previous record was 80 degrees, set back in 1983. On this day, that was 80 degrees, so we beat it by just a hair, but 1 degree. Temperatures do start to decrease, but then eventually start to increase back to the low 60s by next Monday.
Okay, thanks, Andrew. We'll check back in. OPEC member nations agreed to extend their voluntary cuts to crude oil production. The group announced voluntary oil cuts of more than 2 million barrels per day back in November. Since then, the global benchmark has risen from $2 a barrel up to $83 a barrel. The recent extension loosened some of the larger production stoppages. Experts say changes like these often lead to a raise in retail gas prices. General Motors expanded its recall for potentially faulty tailgates in trucks. Earlier this month, GM recalled more than 300,000 vehicles. Now, GM says more than 570,000 trucks may experience tailgates that unlatch as a result of a short circuit from water intrusion. Affected models include 2020 through 2024 Chevy Silverados and GMC Seranas. Coming up in sports, Missouri women's basketball may be on a losing streak, but one player made history today. We've got highlights of their matchup with Mississippi State after the break. Here's a look at what we're following for KOMU 8 News at 10 o'clock. We're learning tonight a Jefferson City home caught fire earlier today. We'll give you an inside look at the damage and how it's impacting the neighborhood at 10.
And here's a look as we go into our weekday. It's going to be a very warm start. It's 57 degrees to start out, and then we're going to have temperatures going into the upper 70s with some chances of some showers and maybe even some thunderstorms as we get into later Monday nights. And then Tuesday, it's going to cool down a little bit into the lower 60s. More chances of rain as we go into Thursday and Friday, and then the cooler temperatures come back next Saturday.
Okay, thanks, Andrew.
Anytime.
And thanks for joining us. We'll see you back here at 10.